This is Florida Matters. I'm Matthew Petty. Americans are expected to spend a record amount this holiday season. The National Retail Federation says consumers will spend up to $966 billion in November and December. That's about 4% higher than last year. Still, the Retail Federation notes holiday spending is not growing as fast as it did the past 3 years. Black Friday, the traditional start of the holiday shopping season, is just days away, and on this episode we'll discuss what that looks like this year. Many residents in the greater Tampa Bay region and statewide are feeling the pinch of inflation, the high cost of homeowners insurance and rent, and other financial pressures. We'll talk about consumer confidence and the economic challenges facing Floridians as retailers gear up for their busy season. And it's been called the Super Bowl of shopping. Shopapalooza happens the weekend after Thanksgiving along the waterfront in downtown St. Petersburg. There's more than 350 vendors and a place where people can get their in-person shopping fix. We'll discuss what this event means for small businesses and where it fits into the holiday shopping environment where big box and online retailers are competing fiercely for people's attention and dollars. We're joined by Michael Snipes, instructor in economics at the University of South Florida. Michael, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And Pat Largo with Shopapalooza. Pat, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So Pat, I want to start with you. Shopapalooza is in its 13th year, having taken a year off because of COVID-19. So for folks who aren't accustomed to it or aren't acquainted with it, what is it and how has it changed in those 13 years it's been around?
Yeah, oh man, Shopapalooza it's the biggest small business shopping event, small business Saturday and Sunday event, basically in the United States of America. And it has grown exponentially since we first started in that 2009 year when I think we had maybe 30 to 40 vendors and begging people to be a part of it. And now we're at Vinoy Park, which is 11 and a half acres, and we use every inch of it. And we have 365 vendors and food vendors and trucks, and everything is local mom and pop independent owners that are there, entertainment. It's a 2-day event. It's like the Super Bowl of shopping. And the best part is it's all local. When you talk about community coming together, that's what the best part of it is. It's 2 days of shopping and getting ready for the holidays, but seeing people come together on November 25th and 26th from all walks of life. And it's just so cool.
You've got a lot of vendors. I noticed on the website that it's booked out, so no more space.
Right.
How soon does that happen? Like, how much time does it take for you to fill the space up?
It was quickly going from 22 to this year. It happened within a few months. This year, we haven't even done, obviously, this year's Shopapalooza yet, and we're about half full for Shopapalooza 2024. So right now, the word has spread over the years where it's amazing how many people and vendors want to be a part of this event, knowing how this event can literally change their lives in a couple of days.
It seems like that's one indication at least of consumer confidence, right? If you have a venue like this where people are eager to put their stuff in front of folks and be a part of it, shows that people are ready to at least sell their products. Presumably there's a market for it. So I wanted to bring you into this conversation, Michael. The National Retail Federation is forecasting record holiday spending in November and December, with Americans spending up to 4% more over 2022. That's up to $966.6 billion. What do you make of that? I mean, what are you hearing in terms of what you're seeing from people's confidence, what they want to spend this holiday season?
It's definitely the case that the economy is strong. I mean, all of the numbers that I've seen, the big macroeconomic indicators like unemployment levels, like inflation levels for the entire country are really all trending in the same direction. And it would be interesting. I hadn't read that particular statistic that holiday spending is expected to be up. I do find that interesting because inflation is still an issue in the economy. Most of the time we're aiming for about a 2% inflation rate, and we're still well above that. So that is a little bit surprising, and I would like to see kind of how Florida stacks up in that number relative to the United States. But I do think that events like Pat is organizing, I think that that's a wonderful idea because you could almost kind of kill two birds with one stone, right? One, you could support local businesses, you could support your local community. And two, you might find a unique present for Christmas. You might find something that is less expensive than you might find in a big box store.
Pat, back to you. Just talk about the timing of the event. It starts on Small Business Saturday, which is itself a marketing initiative started I think back in 2010 by American Express. But I wonder, do you get a bit of shopping tailwind coming off of Thanksgiving and Black Friday?
Yeah, we do. And that's also, I think, the beauty of it because people sometimes are now a little bit tired of maybe going to the Black Friday sales and seeing some of the riot scenes that happen at some of the at some of the big box stores. And again, we always joke around. We're not anti big box store. Everyone's got to make their dough. We get that. And we understand everyone serves a purpose. But this is where we get to say, hey guys, if you enjoy beautiful Florida weather in November, right after you had Thanksgiving dinner, and come on out that Saturday and Sunday and bring some comfortable walking shoes and patronize local businesses, and you can get your Christmas shopping done there or shore up some of your shopping and just enjoy the Florida lifestyle. We see literally tens of thousands of people doing it every year, and we know we have our place in that chain. So we definitely catch that Black Friday, getting ready for Christmas holiday, that kind of excitement for shopping.
So there's excitement, but you're not going to get broken bones and twisted ankles and things like that.
Depending how much you have to drink.
Okay.
It's so chill and so laid back. It's wonderful. And there's throngs of people, yes, we're not going to deny that. I will guarantee you there's no trampling, though.
I wonder, though, what makes this different from any other outdoor weekend market, aside from the size of it, because it's clearly pretty big? And is there something unique about St. Petersburg that makes this place more fertile, perhaps, for small businesses to thrive in an event like this?
It's the partnership we've developed over the years with the city of St. Pete. In fact, they're our co-sponsor, and a shout out to Mayor Ken Welch. Thank you so much again for another great event we're going to have at Vinoy Park. We have such an eclectic downtown and St. Petersburg area for local shops and restaurants, and to see people patronize that 365 days a year is amazing. So that partnership now we have with Vinoy Park that we've been doing for a few years now, it's the perfect place along the water, right by St. Pete Pier. It's almost like the epicenter in a way of the shopping because people know they can count on Shopapalooza at Vinoy Park every year on Thanksgiving weekend.
Michael, around this time last year, you were talking about how inflation and changes in people's shopping habits, how they shop, was making it a bit hard to predict holiday shopping trends. What about 12 months later? Because you talked about inflation, that's still being something that's lurking in the background. Is it a bit easier this time around to make some predictions about how those trends are going?
Yeah, so all the macroeconomic indicators that I've looked at, and I tend to keep a fairly close eye on them. The fact that spending is up, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, if spending was down last year, then it's going to be easier for spending to be up this year. So we do see strong labor markets. We see people who were maybe long-term unemployed starting to come back into labor markets. They're going to bring income with them. And this could be a way that they could maybe kind of more efficiently spend their money. And so I do predict that we will have a strong holiday season, definitely one of the strongest in the past couple of years, really just kind of the fact that we're now starting to really kind of get back to normal from the COVID years. And there are some other things that we have to think about, from a personal level or from a spending level, what's happening with wages. To keep kind of a positive spin on it, I don't really foresee any reason to be pessimistic or anything other than optimistic about where the economy for the entire United States and especially the economy for Florida. I think it's all heading in the right direction.
Aside from inflation, and you mentioned wages too, are there some other big challenges that Floridians in particular are facing this year when it comes to how much they may be comfortable spending over the holidays?
Yeah, so with wages and prices, those two things kind of go hand in hand. But besides those two issues, which have been an issue for many, many years, we do see so much growth recently in Florida, growth in population, growth in businesses. And that is one of the things that has led to Florida having an inflation rate that's higher than the rest of the country. So this growth that we're seeing in the population and all the new construction that we're seeing, I think that is going to be interesting to see how long this rejuvenation lasts, whether it's something that is kind of a temporary reaction to the past couple of years, or are we really now kind of facing a new reality? And I think events like this are interesting because it might be part of the new reality. And I think in a positive way, in that we might see the labor force shifting more towards kind of self-employment or small businesses as people leave kind of bigger jobs that maybe didn't have the wages or maybe didn't have the amenities that they were requiring. I think it's very reasonable to expect a lot of small businesses to start to pop up. And I think an event like this is good because if nothing else, it's a way for them to get their foot in the door and get their brand exposed, if nothing else. But it also will help the consumer in that a lot of the times you're going to find unique things. Prices could be a little bit better. I think it's really kind of interesting. And I think it's reflective of where the economy and the labor market has been heading for the past couple of years. I think it's kind of an interesting transition.
Do you follow things, Michael, like what the big ticket items may be around holiday shopping seasons, things that kind of must-haves that are really driving people's shopping experience per se?
Yeah, well, I think the classics are always there. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and her list is everything Harry Potter. She's asking now for a new tablet and a new iPhone. The classics are always there. You're always going to have your sales on your televisions and your computers and things of that nature. And those tend to be the big ticket items really every single holiday season. So there's not necessarily one particularly hot item that I see, especially for adults. But yeah, events like this do provide an opportunity to get something that is unique and maybe one of a kind.
Pat, what are you seeing? Like, is there a trend that you've noticed in terms of the kinds of vendors who are applying to be part of Shopapalooza, or do you get some kind of must-have item that tends to pop up at multiple stores at an event like this?
Like Michael mentioned, some of the unique stuff that the local independent shoppers can make and create, that's what it's all about. And we are seeing that, especially since the COVID year, because we've had some small businesses who had brick and mortars literally had to close down. And then they reopen again, either as an online store or, some kind of a mobile store. So seeing that, I think also really whet their creativity. We have some vendors would like the quote unquote big ticket items, but at a Shopapalooza event, if you are coming as a vendor, trying to sell one item that might be $400, that might be out of the price range of an event that we do, where most people are going to be going vendor to vendor and spending maybe $400, $500 the whole day. So we also kind of know the kind of people, we don't want to waste their time. We want them to be productive and make money. So we also let them know that, sometimes this may not be the event for you if you're selling some really high-end, maybe artwork, craftsmanship type stuff like that.
How important would this event be for some of these vendors? Like, is this the marquee thing that they're looking towards for the year?
Yes, I got to tell you, that's what gives me goosebumps when some of the vendors, they talk about, hey guys, before Shopapalooza, I've done 3 other events this year, and I made more money in my 2 days at Shopapalooza than I did in my all previous events combined. We have about a 70% return rate of vendors who are with us with previous Shopapaloozas, and they know that this is their weekend. This is the one where they bring home the bacon, and it's so cool to hear those stories the following week when they go, wow, that was so incredible. We ran out of this, we ran out of that, and we made more money than we did this whole year, or we made more money than we did at last year's Palooza. And there's so many great stories like that. And it's a testament to the people coming out, the shoppers.
What did you all do during COVID then? You had to basically put it on hold for a year. What kind of impact did that have on it? Like, did people go to other events, or were they just waiting around for you to reopen?
From what I saw from the other vendors, we were all doing the same thing. We were just kind of camped out at home or thinking about, how long is this going to last? Are we going to have any more festivals? And this is what I was talking about previously about some folks unfortunately had to shut down business because that literally, with no business for that year, literally shut them down. So then they said, we need to think of something else. So we all were just kind of hoping and praying that we'd get through 2020. Then get back to it. And just that wherewithal and that positive thinking got everyone back to, okay, we're going to get back to outside festivals. And as soon as you say Shopapalooza, we're going to be there again. And that was one of our biggest and best paloozas right after COVID. That was pretty insane.
You're listening to Florida Matters. We're talking with Pat Largo of Shopapalooza and USF economics instructor Michael Snipes about consumer confidence and holiday shopping. More when we come back. Welcome back to Florida Matters. I'm Matthew Petty. Black Friday may not have the impact it used to when shoppers would line up outside stores waiting for doorbuster sales. It's a different retail environment, with changes accelerated in part by the COVID-19 pandemic. But one place in the greater Tampa Bay region where retailers are expecting a big crowd of shoppers this weekend is Vinoy Park in downtown St. Petersburg, the site of Shopapalooza. Let's get back to the conversation with Shopapalooza's Pat Largo and University of South Florida economics instructor Michael Snipes. We're talking about consumer confidence and holiday shopping, the impact of online retail on the economy, and what this two-day shopping event can mean for a small business. Michael, I just wanted to come back to you for a moment and some more of that National Retail Federation data from their most recent press release. One of the things they note too is a change in online shopping. They're saying that in terms of what to expect there, they're looking like a 9% increase in online shopping this holiday season over last year. How does that tally with what you're seeing? Because it seemed to me that maybe that's one of the things that is permanent since the pandemic. It's not ever going to go back to the kind of mix of brick and mortar and online that there was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart's always going to be there. Target's always going to be there. You know, of course, I say that 30 years ago, you would have said Sears is always going to be here. So, I mean, there is some unpredictability.
Sure.
But I think that the biggest change that's happened as we've come out of the pandemic has been this shift in the type of work and the type of jobs that are getting done, that are there. I think that workers are kind of starting to realize that there's more to life. There's important things beyond just a wage. I need support for childcare, or I need, transportation support, whatever the case may be. And if I can do that from home and eliminate all of those other things that I need, and at the same time work for myself, maybe if I'm not working remotely for a bigger company, that's going to be appealing for a lot of people. So the fact that we've seen this expect a 9-10% increase in online shopping, I think that that's really just kind of another indicator that we're moving more towards people working for themselves or working at home, an increase in online shopping. And really, this is a trend that's been happening for the past decade or so, this shift from physical purchasing to buying things online. I mean, just look at the rise of Amazon over the past 10 years. I mean, my goodness. So I think that it is really just kind of indicative of where the economy is going. And the COVID years, when people started to work from home, I think that really just kind of accelerated things more than anything else. I think that's where the economy was pointing, was more online economic activity, workers demanding amenities, that firms provide amenities that are really going to be helpful for them in their daily lives. And so I really think that this is just kind of an indication that this is where the economy is going. And COVID really just kind of accelerated some of those effects.
There is this whole economy around holiday retail though, right? Because, I mean, you talk about people maybe working for themselves or working online, working from home, rather than going to a physical place of work. But retailers do hire more staff for the holidays, and there's also specific holiday shops that pop up, like Spirit Halloween, for example. What are the trends there, though? Are you seeing maybe less of that as there's more of this kind of shift to a more online world when it comes to retail?
Yeah, well, all of those holiday jobs, those are really temporary by design. They're not meant to be permanent jobs. They're not meant to be jobs that people are going to work for 20 years and retire on. So those temporary holiday jobs, I mean, I don't really expect those to really go anywhere. And they've been here for years and years and years. Those are by design temporary jobs that really aren't going to give us a good indicator as to where things are going and where trends are going overall. And even, some of the big data houses that the government has, you may see terms like seasonally adjusted. So seasonally adjusted unemployment, seasonally adjusted prices. Essentially what they're doing is they're acknowledging kind of the temporary nature of these jobs. So those temporary jobs have always been there. And, if we're hiring more of these people for some of these temporary holiday jobs, I think that's really kind of separate from the big picture, because the big picture of people actually working jobs and careers, that's really, I think, where the interesting things are happening. That's where a lot of the dynamics are happening and where a lot of the changes are happening. So a lot of these kind of temporary jobs, it's good for people to earn some extra income so they can spend it on Christmas gifts, so they can spend it on other things that they might need. But really, if what we're interested in is kind of big picture trends as to where we're going, some of those temporary holiday jobs are really just kind of more of a blip more than anything else.
I wanted to just throw a little more data at you if I could, Michael. I was having a look at the Bureau of Economic and Business Research. I think that's the acronym over at the University of Florida. And according to them, consumer sentiment was down in October for the second consecutive month. That to me seems like a little bit of it's at cross purposes to what we're hearing from the likes of the National Retail Federation and the sort of macroeconomics that you're talking about in terms of the economy's doing well. How do you sort of balance those two things up, and what would that tell you about people's spending habits going into the holiday shopping season?
Yeah, so I think at least part of the reason why we are seeing kind of consumer confidence being down is we're really kind of in, if you will, a transition period, kind of a short run equilibrium in kind of moving towards the way things are going to be 5 years from now and moving forward. So any time that we have kind of a big, especially with COVID, when we have a huge shock to the economic system, the ripples of those effects are going to be felt for years. But at the same time, when we look at the economy and we look at just kind of the general state and health of the economy, there was nothing really structurally wrong in 2019 or 2020. So when quarantine ended and we came back, the structure was still there. What happened was really just kind of a reconfiguration of where the jobs were. So the people who were working jobs and they had to commute and they had to go into physical buildings to work, and then they were working from home. Well, now when we're opening back up and we're basically 100% open, when these jobs that are looking to hire people might have been jobs where people left and worked from home. So the jobs that are hiring tend to be these jobs that people left in the first place. So some of that might be that there is some churn as people kind of figure out and navigate where exactly I, as an individual, am going to fit into this new economic reality. There is going to be some churn. There is going to be some uncertainty. But I think that certainly within a couple months, certainly within a year, 5 years, once things really start to settle down and we can really start to see the lay of the land, I think that that is something that's really going to give consumers confidence and lead to a strong economic outlook. But at least temporarily, I mean, yes, we do still have to find jobs. We do still have to find those jobs and those firms that are offering these amenities. And if you can't just start up a small business. It's something that takes time. It's something that takes passion. And so I think that if we see consumer confidence down a little bit for the past 2 months, I think really what that's reflective of is people just adjusting to the new reality, the new economic reality, the new spending reality, the new working reality, more than anything else.
Things like Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, other kind of target days for retailers, how much of a difference can they make?
There's a reason why they call it Black Friday, right? So Black Friday is when they move from the red into the black and they start to earn money. And this is really going to be something that's going to affect businesses more than it will consumers, is businesses are going to have to acknowledge the fact that online retail is already important, but it's going to become even more important in the future. And so anybody who is thinking of starting a business or even an established, national brand like Walmart, that's something that they're going to have to adjust to. And that's just going to be the new reality moving forward, is this increase in importance in online retail and shopping. That's just the way things are going. That's the new reality. And so if we do want to have a brick and mortar, we want to have a solid physical location, that might not necessarily be reflecting the new reality. And so I think that events like this, the Shopapalooza, I think that that is a way that these small vendors could get their feet in the door and say, hey, these are the products that I have for sale, for offer. Here, scan my QR code and that'll take you to my website. I think that would be a smart thing to do, because especially for small businesses that in no way are going to be able to afford a 30,000 square foot warehouse, I think that that's going to be the way that small retail is going to be moving forward. Etsy's becoming bigger, and some of these other online organizations that kind of organize small businesses, those are becoming more important. So, yeah, I think it's just the new economic reality that we're seeing.
Pat, is that what you're hearing from the vendors that are at Shopapalooza?
Michael made a great point, because right here in my neck of the woods in Pasco County, one of our Palooza folks, Nathan Ward, is opening up a place called Florida Candle Company on Main Street in Newport Richey, Florida. And his idea is this. He has this building on beautiful downtown Main Street, Newport Richey, but he's also bringing in several other vendors who can't afford rent on their own brick and mortar. So he's going to have them come in to be able to sell their goods out of his store as well. And then they'll all be able to collaborate together on one rent. So that's another thing that some of the local businesses are doing, where they go, man, I would love to open up my own place or maybe even get my own mobile truck, but I can't afford it. Maybe I can move in under one roof with these other folks and almost have like a little mini Shopapalooza, so to speak, where you have a bunch of vendors in one building.
And that's something, this kind of this co-work trend that we've seen. It's really kind of an interesting thing because as we see kind of a rise of people being able to work remotely and wherever they want, I mean, they're going to have a place to work. So if we can get a group of people to come together and, afford a brick and mortar and afford the rent that comes with it, that is something that we're seeing. And it's going to be something that's interesting to see moving forward, whether this, if you will, co-op style of selling things for small businesses. I think that that's a trend that I think really should be explored. I think that that's something that can definitely give some of these smaller businesses, some of these independent businesses, at least a shot at competing with some of the bigger stores.
Pat, are you a little bit weather dependent? I mean, I guess it's usually things are pretty settled in November, but has there ever been a year when you've been rained out and had to move indoors or something?
Well, now you almost jinxed it. Thank God you didn't say the real W word, but you're right. Knock on wood. I think literally we only had one Palooza a few years ago that had a light sprinkle on a Sunday maybe, but we're exclusively outdoors, so whatever happens, happens. The snowbirds come down this time of year. We're enjoying weather in the upper 70s. So knock on wood, hopefully we'll continue the great weather.
Final question for both of you. What's on your holiday shopping list?
Yeah, well, my daughter is just now entering the tween years, if you will. So she's now starting to ask for some of the bigger ticket electronic items. So for the first time ever since her birthday or different holidays, we're starting to see iPhones and iPads start to appear on Christmas lists. So whether or not we'll do that remains to be seen.
Man, I mean this truthfully, for Christmas or for the holidays, I just want the best possible Shopapalooza event we can put on. That's what I want.
Sounds good. Well, I want to thank you both for your time. We've been speaking with Pat Largo with Shopapalooza. Pat, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Michael Snipes, instructor in economics at the University of South Florida. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you very much.
That's our show for this week. Search for Florida Matters on social media and find archived episodes online at WUSF.org. Our producer is Steve Newborn. Production assistance for this episode from Mary Shedden. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks for listening.